Good day, Field Study 2 students. So for this video lecture, I'll be discussing what are the things that you are going to do for your learning experiences 6, 7, 8, and 9. Also, I'll be announcing some important reminders regarding the submission of your learning experiences, your final output, or your portfolio, and of course, your action research proposal. So, without further ado, let us start with Learning Experience 6. So, in Learning Experience 6, it is all about recording learners' assessment results. So, from the title itself, you will focus on the assessment results of your learners. So, having accurate, factual, and up to date record keeping of learners' academic output is a very important part of a teacher's role. So that we can identify if effective ba yung naging assessment natin so that we can have accurate judgments according to our students' progress in their learning, 'di ba? And also, it is also important dahil etong mga record na to at some cases, if the parents of our students will ask for our record, so we can show them, meron tayong clear na evidence, 'di ba? So it is very important if we have proper recording of our academic outputs and performance task na pinagawa natin sa ating mga students. So, as a student teacher, it is very important na matrain kayo how are you going to assess and how are you going to record your learners' assessment results. So, again, we have 5 experiential tasks. So, we have exposure, participation, identification, internalization, dissemination. And for our reflection trigger to be answered on our um growth portfolio entry number 1, how important is accurate recording of learners' performance? Ayan. So now let us move on with 6.1. It is all about collecting and safekeeping of academic outputs and performance tasks. So all you have to do is to assist your cooperating teacher in checking the accuracy of entering in the class record of the student's academic outputs and performance. So of course, your cooperating teacher will tell you what are you going to do. Is it on the Google Classroom? Ayan. Or if it's kind of modular. However, it is parang what do you call this one? It is passed or it is submitted through Google Classroom or Google Forms. Ayan, so you will help him or her. So you will collect, sort, and keep the students' output. So ano pong ilalagay natin dito? What are the activities po na ginawa ninyo? Ano yung mga guidelines or instructions ng inyong cooperating teacher? Like let's say for example, inad ka niya. Ayan, so your cooperating teacher added you as a teacher on the Google Classroom para magkaroon ka ng access doon sa mga activities or outputs ng mga students. And then next, binigyan ka ng format or ng template ng iyong cooperating teacher, ayan, sa Excel or sa spreadsheet, yung Google spreadsheet, ayan, Google Sheets. Tapos doon, makikita mo kung paano nag-i-input or naglalagay si cooperating teacher. Ayan. So, if hindi man kayo bigyan ni cooperating teacher ng ganito na gawain or ng chance na ma-involve doon sa pag-assess ng mga students, pwede kayong magsabi because it is part of your learning experience. So, ayan lang. All you have to do is to list down your CITES guidelines or instructions on how you will collect, sort, and keep the student's output. So, it is not necessary na 5 yung ilalagay ninyo. So, base lamang yan sa ibibigay sa inyo ng inyong city. Next, 6.2, participation. Okay, so getting acquainted with learners' output and performance tasks. So all you have to do is to organize your list of learners' output by recording them in given categories. So we have categories here, learning categories and performance task. So ano pong gagawin natin? So let's say for example, you have two sections na handled with your cooperating teacher. Okay, so all you have to do is to put the section here. So kung dalawa, pwede nyo hatiin itong ating table sa dalawa. Ayan, so gawin nyo lang siya. Ayan, para maging dalawa siya. So, this is for section, let's say for example, section 1 and then section 2. Kaya grade 10, blah, blah, blah. Grade 10, ganyan, ganyan. Kung anong section nila. Tapos, on learning categories, okay, so this is actually learning activities or learning outputs dito sa ating first one. Learning outputs or activities. Okay, so for example, nagbigay si cooperating teacher ng problem set. Ayan. So, lagay mo lang dyan is problem set, for example, number 8. Ayan. Tapos, i-organize mo lang on by recording them in given categories. Ayan, so problem set number 8. Tapos, let's say for example, nagbigay ng performance task. Nagkaroon ba ng online whiteboard recitation by using uh, Google, anong tawag doon sa yung Google Whiteboard? Ayan. So, online whiteboard recitation. So, it is performance task. O kaya kung nagbigay man ng some other activities, so lagay nyo lang dito. Sa categories lang siya ha. Hindi nyo ilalagay yung mismong output ng mga students, yung record. Lalagay mo lang kung ano yung mga activities. So, by category tayo. So, i-identify mo lang kung learning output siya or activity or performance task. Ayan. So, lalagay mo lang siya dyan. Kaya, nagbigay ng quiz number 7. Ganyan. So, lagay mo lang siya. So, again, it is not necessary kung tag-5, tag-4. Depende po yan sa ibibigay ng inyong city. Next po, collecting, organizing, and recording practices of learners' performance outputs. So, you all you have to do is to assist your cooperating teacher in organizing the collection of students' learning outputs. So, since we are using or we are in online class, ayan, or flexible learning modality, most likely, ang ating mga outputs ng ating mga students can be stored on Google Drive, on Google Classroom, or your cooperating teacher is using a flash drive and the hard disk, ganyan. So, lagay mo lang po. So, for example, ayan, yung doon po sa klase na handle mo, together with your city, you can arrange the output by names or class number for easy recording. So, for example, kagaya po ng pinapagawa ko sa aking NSTP class. Yan. So, for example, for their learning output, so this is an activity. Okay, let's say for example, activity number 1. Ayan. So, so this is what I am doing with my NSTP class, no? So yung names or class number na lang. So lalagay mo lang siya diyan. So for example, NSTP 1, ayan, Act 1, English 1A. Tapos, sisave ko na siya. Ayan. So, ganyan po. Tapos, kung performance task, NSTP 1, kunyari, this is yung recitation nila for preamble, nakalagay diyan, ayan, recitation 1 or PT1, ayan, performance task 1, lagay nila yung section, English 1B. Ayan, so lagay mo lang po. So you can arrange the learning outputs na nilagay niyo po dito according sa name kung paano niyo siya i-store or paano niyo siya i-record. Now, after doing that, you will re-examine your assisting task by answering this question. As you record the assessment results of the students, what are some of the critical issues of accountability in recording you have experienced? So, since this is done online, so pwede nyo ilagay, there is a chance na mabura or if ever makalimutan man yung password ng Google, ganyan. So, there are a lot of instances, 'di ba? So, think of it. Pwede like, let's say for example, um, ano pa bang possible? So, parang lalagay ninyo kung face-to-face classes, if it's face-to-face classes, ano man yung mas magiging, way na mas mapapadali kayo para i-record yung assessment results or some other cases. So, input niyo lang siya lahat dito. Next po, 2.4 internalization. Ayan po. So, nag-move yung table, no? So, you will recognize the importance and difficulties in recording learning outputs and performance tasks. So, all you have to do is to put or lagay natin dito sa table na ito, what are the challenges you encountered in assisting your cooperating teacher in recording of students' learning outputs and performance tasks. So, we have 10. Ayan, 10 yung ano natin dito. So, again, it is not necessary to put 10 challenges. So, kung ano lang po yung na-encounter ninyo. Okay? And then, this is 6.5. Ayan, nagkagulo na yung numbering. No, 6.4, 6.5. Ayan. So, you can edit na lang, no, bago nyo siya i-submit. So, 6.5, dissemination, preparing and recording strategies. So, from the experiences that na-encounter mo while during assisting your cooperating teacher, ikaw naman yung gagawa ng plan. Paano mo ipe-prepare and what are the recording strategies na gagawin mo to record the your future students' learning outputs and performance tasks. So, meron po tayong 4 dito, no? So, again, if you only have one strategy, two strategies, it's fine with me. Okay? So, again, for your growth portfolio entry number 1, answer your reflection trigger. And then for growth portfolio entry number 2, put your evidences on assisting your cooperating teacher. So that would be all for learning experience 6. Okay? So if you have questions, you can just write a comment on the announcement that I'll be posting in Google Classroom po. Ayan. Next po, learning experience number 7. Ayan. So, for learning experience number 7, it is all about maintaining wholesome and safe learning environment. So, it is very important to create a positive, wholesome, and safe learning environment. However, it is not easy, nor it is very encouraging task for every teacher. Dapat mapa-feel natin sa ating mga learners that they are that all of their needs, whether it is physically, emotionally, and intellectually, ay importante para sa mga teacher or para sa kanyang teacher. Okay? So, for our learning experience 7, We have again five different experiential tasks to be discussed. Ayan, further later. For your reflection trigger, again, you will put it on growth portfolio entry number 1. For this learning experience, you will answer how will I make my learning environment always pleasant, positive, safe, and conducive to my learners. Okay? So let us move on with 7.1. So this is just giving attention to basic safety issues. So it is just discussed here that teachers see to it that student safety is their first priority as soon as they enter their respective classroom. So as a student teacher, you can participate in this responsibility with your cooperating teacher. So we have five. Ayan. So this is actually for face-to-face classroom setup. However, in online classroom, you can have or you can ask for your cooperating teachers safety issues or basic safety issues or rules and regulations na binigay niya. If you still remember on our first day of class, I am discussing some do's and don'ts during online classes, and that can be or that can help the online classroom to have a safe learning environment. Next, 7.2, participation. So, walking through the classroom appearance. So, you can make a checklist of things you will do to keep the classroom uh, clean and orderly. Ayan po. So, since this is not applicable, so we don't have to answer this one. Ayan, so hindi na po natin kailangan, no? Next, 7.3, participating in maintaining wholesome, comfortable, and safe classroom. So all throughout the day, be vigilant in participating in the maintenance of wholesome, comfortable, and safe learning environment for your learner. So list down some concerns relative to the students' learning or to the learner's comfortability and safety which you will address daily to assess your city. So for example, since it is online classroom, ayan, lagay nyo na lang po what are the things you have or your concerns. What are your concerns during the online class? Like let's say for example, paano mapapa-feel mo sa mga students mo that they are safe? Ayan, so for example, no, lagay nyo na you are asking your students to read the data privacy kineme, ganyan, yung mga ganon, no? So, pwede niyo po siyang ilagay dito. So, applicable siya through online. Again, if you only have two answers, it's fine with me. Next, you have to answer this one. You're examining your assisting task while you take on the role of assisting your city in maintaining wholesome, comfortable, and safe environment. What problems confronted you along the way? Next, 7.4. Do and follow your cooperating teacher's direction on how you will arrange, rearrange, or completely change the physical setup of the classroom. Okay. So since it is all about classroom, so wala pong you can ask for from the suggestion of your city. Just think that you are arranging the physical setup of the classroom. Ayan. So, tanong niya na lang si city. Like, let's say, for example, what are the suggestions of your city according sa students' desk or chairs? Ayan. So, for example, sabi ni City, mas okay kung parang pa-letter C ba yun? Yung pa ganun na box, pa-box sila or meron silang biro and all. So, lagay niyo na lang dito. So, more on, ano tayo, direction and suggestion ni City. Tapos, classroom displays, ayan, tanong mo kung ano yung mga suggestions or magiging parang para sa city mo, ano yung mga effective na classroom displays and teaching resources. So, most likely, ang sasagutan natin dito is yung suggestions po ng ating city. For that is for 7.4. Now for 7.5, since you already have your cooperating teachers suggestions on what are the things like students desk or chairs, classroom displays, and teaching resources. Ngayon, you can now figure out how are you going to set up your own classroom. So you can use your computer skill to make your own design. So use figures and label your design. So you can just put your future classroom here. You can draw it. Pwede kayong gumamit ng pang-edit sa computer, and pumapayag din po ako kung kaya nyo pong mag-drawing. Ayan, using pencil and color. You can just post it here. Okay, for growth portfolio entry number 1, again, reflection trigger po. Entry number 2, evidences po during your observation. Ayan, so you can delete this reflection trigger. Kasi sa growth portfolio entry number 1 na siya. Okay, so again, for further questions, you can leave a comment on the announcement on our Google Classroom. Okay, so now let us move on with learning experience 8, participating in maintaining instructional routines. So the main objective of this field study 2 is to expose and to provide student teachers with some authentic hands-on participation in the teaching learning experience. Okay? So in this learning experience, it is better if your cooperating teacher will engage you in some of the classroom practices. Ayan. So, your task as a student teacher is very crucial in participating in your city's challenge of making the learners gain academic content. Ayan. Ngayon po, uh, we are going to know and understand some instructional routines here, and also paano ginagawa yung mga instructional routines and all. So for your reflection trigger, you have to answer this question: how do instructional routines contribute to the students' learning of content areas? So for 8.1, knowing and understanding instructional routines. So your cooperating teacher has activities or routines in which students are asked to be familiar with. So these practices initially taught to the students constantly practice until they become part of the classroom structure during the teaching and learning event. So instructional routines are research-based, interactive modes intended to engage students and increase their chance of successful learning by reducing the effort required to learn a procedure that otherwise may vary by day, teacher, or lesson. Actually, before, during my student teaching, ayan, it is 3 years ago. Lumalabas kasi siya, if I'm not mistaken, nag-start kami ng January 6 ng practice teaching before. Ayan. And nung nag-start ako, una kong pinakilala sa kanila yung Z points. Ayan. So, yung Z points na yon, parang naging motivation nila and naging parte na siya ng aming routinary activities whenever they will answer or such questions, nagkakaroon sila nung Z points. And that Z points can be redeemed as additional points on their monthly exam or on their quiz. Pero hindi pwede sa quarterly. Ganun po yung ginawa kong parang motivation. And naging parte na talaga siya nung routine namin sa classroom. Yung pagkakaroon ng Z points. So, participation naman po tayo, observing instructional routines at work. So, what are the instructional routines? You can observe carefully ano yung mga instructional routines na ginagawa ng inyong city. And you can list them down and start rehearsing on how you will participate and pay close attention on your city models during the instruction routines. So for example, nagkakaroon ba sila ng for example, meron ba silang before mag-start yung klase, meron tayong tinatawag na motivational, nag-uumpisa ba kayo doon? May motivational activity ba? Meron ba kayong quiz after and all? So, ayun po. Next, 8.3, doing instructional routine. So, perform with your CT in doing instructional routine. So, here are some instructional CT which your CT might be doing during his or her class. Ito yung buzzing bees. And next, think, pair and share, and warm up routine. So, most likely, ayan, puwedeng gawin niyo 'to, puwedeng ginagawa ng city ninyo. So, you can add and master other instructional routines na ginagawa ng iyong city. So, mag-aano ka lang dito, magpa-participate ka and ang sasagutan mo lang po is this question. What are the problems you notice why instructional routines fail to facilitate the teaching learning process? Next, 8.4, reflecting on the usefulness of instructional routines. So from your participation task, list down at least 5 useful functions you personally observed and encounter. So at least 5 po, no? Next, 8.5, creating instructional routines for useful teaching and learning. So you make your own sample of instructional routines that you can use as a future teacher. So again, growth portfolio entry number 1, reflection trigger. Number 2, evidences. So that would be all for learning experience 8. Now, for the last learning experience to be discussed on this video lecture is learning experience 9, participating in maintaining management routines, establishing ayan, establishing predictable routines is a critical part of the classroom management. So, keeping good management practices makes the daily run smoothly. So, a lot of behavior problems in the classroom can be attributed to the failure of the teacher to establish management routines and the failure of the students to follow them. So we have this reflection trigger. What management routines do I need to establish to make a better classroom? So now let us discuss 9.1, exposure, noting down classroom management routine. So have a list of classroom routines being used or implemented by your cooperating teacher. So you can ask for it. So you can observe very well what, when, and how of these routines are done in the classroom. So, for example, morning rituals. Bago mag-first class, meron tayong morning offering prayer, mag-good morning, may pagkanta ng lupang hinirang and all. Ayan. Tapos, let's say for example, during the motivational activities, ginagawa siya bago yung lesson proper, ano yung ginagawa. Ayan. So, lagay nyo lang po dyan yung classroom management routine ng inyong city. Now, You have to categorize all the classroom management routines that your cooperating teacher has been doing. So, bago ba yung learning events, meron muna siyang pa-activities. During the teaching and learning, ano yung mga ginagawa ni City and ano ba yung ginagawa niya after? May quiz ba? May assignment ba? Meron bang application part? Meron bang generalization and all? So, lagay nyo lang po siya dito. Base po yan sa teaching learning events ng inyong city. 9.3, rate the level of success sa pagpa-participate ng mga students. Is it very successful, moderately successful, or not successful? So, just put a check or highlight nyo. Kunyari, successful, highlight mo lang siya. So, answer this question. What are some of the difficulties in maintaining management routines based on on your personal experiences? 9.4, reviewing success and failure of management routine. So recall your participation in maintaining management routine. So write your successful and failure stories for your personal reflection and insights in the future. So dalawa po, success story and difficulty or failure story. Next, 9.5, committing to adapt management routine strategies for smooth sailing teaching learning events. So make your own samples of instructional management routine strategies that you can use as a future teacher. So lagay niyo po siya dito. Growth portfolio entry number 1 again. Reflection trigger number 2, evidences of field study observation. Ayan. So that would be all for learning experience 9. Again, for further questions, you can just leave a comment on the announcement part of this discussion. Ayan, do sa announcement na, 'di ba magpo-post ako, leave kayo ng comment doon. Now, let us talk about the submission dates, okay? For the submission of learning experiences, so it is until January 20, 2022. For the submission of portfolio, final output nyo po ito January 27, 2022. So, ano po yung format niya? Of course, title and then introduction. So, paano, for introduction, define nyo lang si field study and all. Ganun lamang po. Ano yung ginagawa during field study? So, introduce nyo lang si field study 2. Next, curriculum vitae po ninyo ng field study student. So, sarili nyo pong CV ito. Next po, part 4, beliefs on teaching and learning, so pre and post. So you can compare what are your beliefs bago kayo mag-field study 2 and yung after na. Certificate of completion, so paano nyo siya makukuha kapag nakasubmit po kayo ng learning experience. So kung walang learning experience, walang certificate of completion, ibig sabihin INC po kayo. Next, compilation of LEs. Yung mga isasubmit nyo lang po dito, lalagay nyo lang din po sa portfolio. Reflection on field study areas observed. And then, evidences of learning, lahat ng pictures na nakolekt ninyo, lagay nyo lang po siya dyan. And overall reflection po for field study 2. Overall reflection nyo with your city, with your cooperating school. And then, for your action research proposal, the time frame na gagawin niyo po ito ay from January 17 to February 6, and that is your sem break. During the proposal po of your action research, you are highly encouraged na kausapin ang inyong mga cooperating teachers na doon na din sana kayo mag-practice teaching. But some of the cooperating schools na napuntahan ko ay nasabihan ko na, pero ipaalala nyo na lang din. Kasi po gumagawa na po ako ngayon ng group ninyo for your action research. So, itutuloy nyo po siya hanggang FS3. Ayan. So, for some other questions, you can just message me on my messenger po. Ayan. So, I hope na naintindihan ninyo yung gagawin from LE 6 to 9. Have a good day everyone. God bless po.